Morning, morning.
Morning, morning, morning.
I've got my lunch.
Have you?
Well done.
One banana.
These things are important. Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
Very long time ago.
Thingy.
When were you in the band?
Class of 77, it says here. No, I actually sort of like left in 77, but I was here between 1973 and 1977.
And what inspired you to join the band?
And my parents, for some utterly unknown reason, they just assumed I was musical. And so what they did is they sent me to Oakmead to join the band. Parents say what they like.
Well, me, because he did it. So I was forced to go to all the concerts at the school whilst he was in it. So I think it was just a natural progression for me to do it.
For me, it was like when I was at junior school, you used to have to pay to do musical instruments and lessons, and it was peripatetic teachers used to come, and we never had the money to do that. But then I joined Oakmead, and there was the music block and free lessons, and instantly started getting drum lessons and saxophone lessons. And
It was a good way of getting out of lessons.
yeah,
as
it
well.
was good for bunking, obviously. That was the main reason we were in the school band. For me, all those, and the things like Fisherman's Walk on a Wednesday night and playing in assemblies and just generally just having a great time, but mostly bunking off French I think was a really good thing to do.
Of the pieces we're playing today, have you got any ones that you're particularly fond of or got any sort of special memories of?
I'd love to hear again is the March Oakmead, which I've never played outside of school, which was written by Courtney Bazanco.
Yeah.
And I remember my memory of it is there's a bit in it where Old MacDonald had a farm sort of comes in, and that was reference to the fact there used to be a farm at the school.
And I think Oakmead was one of my favourites. I can't remember half of what we used to play, but looking at the programme, I'm looking down it and I'm thinking, oh yeah.
So I remember it now.
I do, yeah.
What sort of inspired you to join the band?
Well, my dad was a trombone player, so he always inspired me to do something musical at school. So in the infant school I did some orchestra, and in the junior school I did choir, so it was sort of just natural thing that I would join the band when I joined Oakmead School, and I'd already heard of the band because it had such a good reputation.
Oh, it's a question that I've often thought of, and I'm not really certain of the answer to, but I'm pretty certain it was probably because in my junior school they took us to to visit Oakmead, and I think they must have had a rehearsal or something going on, which I saw and thought,
Yeah.
oh wow, that looks great. There was no musical background in my family at all, so I was the first person to play a musical instrument. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what it must have been. I saw the band in junior school and thought, oh, when I join the senior school, I'm going to do that.
what inspired you to join the band in the first
It's
place?
strange, really. I came from Porchester School just in the first year, and I was in the playground, didn't really know anybody, and somebody came up to me and said, "Would you, like to play an instrument?" And I just stupidly said, "Oh yeah, a violinist." He says, "No, you don't want to play a squeak box." He says, "You want to join the brass band?" And I followed him, and they were rehearsing at dinner time. He says, "You play one of those instruments?" I said, "Oh, I like the one that goes like that." And that's it. I got a trombone in.
It's one way of
Made a career of it in the end.
yeah.
The reason I ended up taking trombone, when we were young, my brother and me two sisters, they all learnt piano. I was too busy falling out of trees and things. But when we went to Oakmead, my brother was in the band, David was in the band, he was playing baritone. And I thought, oh, I'd give it a go. And nobody expected me to last. And it was Courtney Bazanko, he looked at me and he said, "You got a real glint in your eye, you look, a bit of a monkey sort of thing. I think you'd be good on the trombone, And so that's how I end up on trombone.
Another source was classical music, which had been adapted for brass band use. And the next piece that the band are going to play for you is one such example. Not a lot of people were playing Mozart in West Howe in the 70s, but this is Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus. Thank you.
So what inspired you to join it, Steve?
Do you know, I've got no recollection at all. I know I turned up on a Saturday morning, I think it was Saturday morning music, and all the instruments were being dished out, mainly, I think, cornets and maybe some horns. And a bit like Al, I said, well, I don't want to play that, I want to play the trombone. And they said, well, we haven't got a trombone, but if you can find one, then you can learn.
Mhm.
Found an old pea shooter in the corner. So I put together, it was a bit dented. And,
They're funny, those old
yeah.
instruments. I remember getting a pea shooter, didn't even have a lock to put
That's right.
just slotted on.
Yeah.
And I remember at a concert on my knee, it just fell off, it just went,
Yeah.
where's my bell gone?
Gosh, I can't remember actually. I never thought of myself as like particularly an athlete. I was very average at all of that kind of stuff. And I just thought, oh, this might be a bit different.
So you didn't play the instrument before Oakmead?
No,
Ah.
no, so I just thought, oh, see what it's like. To be honest, I actually very nearly gave up in the first few weeks because for some reason I couldn't go along to the learners group for a couple of weeks. And you know what it's like at that age. You kind of think, oh, yeah, that they'll be more advanced now and I can't keep up. And I went and spoke to Bosley and he kind of said to me, he looked down at me, as most people do, and he said, do you know what, my boy, give it another go. Give it another go. If you still don't like it, then fine, but just come along, give it another go. And I always remember his fist was like this.
So, of the pieces we are playing today, do any bring back special memories, good, bad?
One of the pieces we're playing is called Indian Summer by a local composer called Eric Ball. I do remember that quite fondly. So that's one of the pieces I'm really looking forward to hearing.
We were just listening to Indian Summer.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Eric Ball actually conducting the band at school. And I remember at the end, he always did this kind of moped up like this. And it was a good experience for us.
Indian Summer, yeah, that is. I mean, Indian Summer's great. It was quite often Eric Ball would turn up at practice, band practice, with a folder of music. He'd hand it out and he'd sit there and rehearse the band at lunchtime or after evening for his pieces. And what have you got written there? No, right. And then he'd rehearse the band and sort of use us to help check his music out before he released it. And he quite often conduct the band on the concerts and everything. He was such a wonderful old chap, really lovely. And just hearing John Grinnell talking about him earlier, you know, amazing man, absolutely lovely man.
Yeah, I think probably Indian Summer would be one that sticks in my mind. It was a contest piece I know that we had to play and we had some success with. So that particularly is a favourite. Love playing that piece of music.
I always liked Indian Summer. It was one of the first test pieces. It's one of the Corny Bazanko pieces, go-to pieces that you first do. I had a bad experience on one of the contests in the Bournemouth Town Hall playing that, because that was my first contest. I was so young. And I went to blow my water out and a big honk came out. And Bazanko, and he looked at me, you know, I didn't mean to, I wasn't trying to say, I was just trying to empty the water. It's quite funny, but yeah, we all love Indian Summer.
But I was lucky because I'd started learning the drums at Christchurch Junior School. I was just asked out of the blue by the French teacher who also taught music, me and another boy, would you like to learn the drums? I never even considered it as something I wanted to do. Sounds like a good idea. And I sort of took to it. My parents bought me a second-hand drum kit, which I used to set up in the lounge and play along to records. So by the time I got to Oakmead, I could sort of play a kit, I could read music, and the fact that they had a band and an orchestra was perfect, and it was sort of, you've got to do this, and it was just a question of you had to bide your time, a few years of bass drum and triangle and tambourine until finally the older boys left and you were the star turn for a couple of years. But that's wonderful about this weekend is that, you know, I've already seen someone who was the lead drummer when I was probably in the first year, and also other drummers like Mark Keniston, who were a couple of years behind me, and it's great that, you know, you sort of instantly know the name, instantly recognise. Oh, Dave Kennel, that's the guy that, so he would have taught me for a you know, for a little while.
basically, of the pieces we're playing today, have you got any particular favourites?
Well, the solo that I'm playing is a really lovely tune. It's called Share My Yoke. So that is a really nice one. But probably one of my favourite pieces that we used to play at school is Caliph of Baghdad, which has got some really nice little tunes, and it's very exciting at the end. So I always loved playing that when I was at school.
I remember playing that, yeah. That was always on the repertoire